Right now, I'd like to invite our host, Perdue, to join me on stage. Jarrett, please come up. We appreciate all the time and planning that you and your staff have provided over and during this meeting, as well as the outstanding hotel accommodations that they've provided with the Florida hospitality. We want to congratulate you and your staff for tremendous work that you've done to host this very awesome group of people with the experiences we've had so far. So thank you, Jared, for making this annual meeting super successful, and please join me in giving a big rousing round of applause for the entire FDOT family.
All right, good morning. So happy to be here. Incredibly honored to host this AASHTO event. There's the sound, good job. Incredibly honored to host this AASHTO event. We have a very dedicated team, like many of you do, that we're so excited to volunteer and work this event. So I'm really grateful to them for their hard work. You've probably seen them in their blue shirts. Today they're wearing pink shirts, but the team here at FDOT has been working really hard to make your time enjoyable and make sure you get the most out of it. So really thankful for that. For those of you who have come here from all over the United States, you probably had an opportunity to drive or ride in a vehicle on our infamous I-4 corridor in Central Florida. And it is infamous, truly. For those of you who don't know, I actually have 5 daughters. That's the point where the ooh and ahs usually come out. So I don't get a lot of rest, but especially now, my oldest is just turned 16 years old. And we actually moved to Central Florida from Florida's Panhandle a few years ago. And those two regions of our state are very different. And I'm going to talk about that in a little while. But so she just turned 16. So over the last year, I've been teaching her to drive in Central Florida. And it just so happens that almost every single place we go, we have to get on I-4, which is the story for most Central Floridians. It just so happens that we recently completed one of the most significant projects we've ever delivered here at FDOT called I-4 Ultimate. The planning process for that project started 30 years ago. The construction took 7 years, $2.3 billion. This year, we finally finished. Really proud moment for FDOT, and you can imagine the pain, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into making that project a success, especially 7 years of construction. Keeping the goodwill of the public on that project was a challenge, day in and day out. But when we finally finished, and the express lanes opened, and all this new capacity was there, it was celebrated by the whole community. And I'm going to talk a little bit about community in a few minutes, but I like to say with I-4 Ultimate, so just think about that. We started planning it 30 years ago, and we reconnected communities with that project. And so we were reconnecting communities before reconnecting communities was cool. That's what I like to say. And we truly, there are communities that were originally divided by the I-4 corridor back in the 70s that have been reconnected because of that project. And if you have the opportunity to drive through it, I would encourage you to do so, because the aesthetic treatments on that project, which were a major component, make it look like a facility of the future. Especially if you drive through it at night. There's LED lighting everywhere, there's aesthetic structures. They all have a very unique signature for the community that they reside within. And so we're really proud of it. Back to my daughter. So I've been teaching her to drive. What better place to teach her than on I-4, right? So I haven't been getting a lot of rest. But one day, and this is going to tie into the thing that we're all passionate about, safety, but one day I was teaching her on I-4. and it was just her and I in the vehicle. And I said, okay, we're gonna brave I-4, right? And so we get on it, and she's following all the rules, right? Her behavior is one that is cautious, following the rules. Teaching her to change lanes. She turns her blinker on, she checks, she looks around, she checks her blind spot multiple times, and I'm walking her through all this. Then she begins to change lanes. I give her the go-ahead, and then all of a sudden a vehicle comes out of nowhere going 90 miles an hour. We almost got in a crash. It scared her to death. But what happened next is what's so disturbing. The driver of this vehicle then slowed down and began to drive next to us as we're on I-4, rolled down his window, flicked her off, and began yelling obscenities at a 16-year-old girl. And did that for probably the next 5 to 10 minutes. And I was at that time teaching her, just ignore them, look straight ahead. I'll make sure they're not following us. And God help them if they do. But no, anyways, that is a behavior issue. Just think about that. A 16-year-old girl driving on I-4, it's an aggressive environment, right? And this, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. Safety is something we're all very passionate about. And we do infrastructure. We do it well. From planning to design to construction, we build infrastructure that's safe. Why do crashes, why do fatalities and serious injuries continue to go up? I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. I first want to thank Jim Timon and his team. You know, they've been incredibly great to work with, making this event a success. Our president, Sean Wilson, you know, his leadership is absolutely outstanding. And you know, I've been in this role now for 7 months. I've had just an absolute great experience with our partner states, and I'm excited about the future. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, our FDOT team has been working this event. You all know that we recently were impacted by a Category 4 hurricane, and those of you who work emergency response know that it consumes your entire world for the next several weeks. But we have a very dedicated team here volunteering for this event that know it's important, and they're proud to be working here. So I really want to thank each and every one of them for what they're doing. Also, our sponsors and partners that help make this event a success. We really couldn't do it without you, so thank you for that. We need you. We need you to be successful in everything that we do. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit first off about who we are at FDOT, because I think that it resonates, and it is probably very similar to most of our partner states. But we have a core mission and core values that we embrace. We have for many, many years, and it's really been built into our fabric, into our culture, things like integrity, respect, commitment. And then this term that we call One FDOT. And somebody asked me a little while ago, like, you know, what does One FDOT mean, you know, to everybody else that you're talking to? And really, in Florida, One FDOT is a theme that we believe permeates our entire industry, because we truly, really, truly are in this together. We can't do what we do as an agency without the vast sea of consultant and industry professionals that help us. We can't do what we do as an industry without the builders that build the infrastructure that we're delivering. And so we've really embraced this One FDOT concept. And even the leadership team that we have in place now, most of us have been with the organization for many, many years. And so we are working to bring this One FDOT concept, take it to the next level, because we really truly believe that our success is dependent on each other. And so we want to continue to build and grow this team culture that focuses on every single individual on our team. We want every individual to realize their value, what they bring to the table, because that's really what's going to make us successful. And so we've been really focusing on that here at FDOT, and we have begun and learned and acknowledge and appreciate the fact that relationships are really truly at the core of our business. And one thing that I've learned throughout my career, as many of you probably have, is that, you know, the outside world's perception as you progress to greater roles, you know, more responsibility, is that you have more power, more control, more influence. One of the things I've learned, it's humbled me, but also helped me realize and see why we're successful, is that with increasing responsibility, you actually become more reliant on other people. And so standing here today, I can honestly say that if it were not for the industry that I came up in, if it were not for every single individual in this industry, every single team member at FDOT, I would not be successful. I'm 100% reliant on other people. And so it makes me proud to be a part of our industry. It makes me proud to be a part of our team here at FDOT. And really, that culture and that feeling really extends, beyond FDOT for us. It extends to our partner states and this organization and what we accomplish together year after year. So I'm really proud to be a part of that. We are continuing to adapt. Society, as you all know, is changing rapidly. We used to talk about disruptive technologies and how quickly they change and how hard it is to plan for what the future may look like. Well, we're beginning to realize that society as a whole is changing just that rapidly. And how do we continue to deliver infrastructure and be successful with the way society is changing around us? And so one of the ideas as a leadership team that we have decided is really kind of at the heart and soul of everything we do is community. If we're going to continue to be successful, we need to figure out how to connect the dots between what we do and every single community we serve. Delivering infrastructure of old, you go all the way back to the mid-1900s, it was very vehicle-centric, right? Asphalt, concrete. Let's get out there, let's blaze a trail, let's get cars moving. We are now in an era and into the future, we're moving in a direction where if the community does not like, love, appreciate, and understand the product that you're delivering, you're going to have a really hard time being successful. We're seeing it on individual projects, we're seeing it regionally, and we're seeing it statewide. And so we've decided as a team, in order to adapt and evolve with the rapid changes in society, we need to make communities our #1 priority. And so how can we take every single project, every single decision, and make it a community-centric decision? How can we engage communities in a way that they feel like they're a part of what we're doing and they had say in what the ultimate solution is? And just as an example, one of the things I like to kind of joke about is, we're really good at what we do. We decide something's needed, we gather people up in a room, we burn the midnight oil, we decide what we're going to do, and then we go out and tell the public what we're doing, and we call that public engagement. But guess what? They weren't engaged. We're just simply telling them what we decided to do, and we're engineers, we know best, right? So that's not going to work anymore. That's not going to work, and so we have to evolve, we have to adapt our engagement of communities, and we have to, first of all, have a desire on our side to engage them and let them be a part of it. But then secondly, we have to change the way we deliver projects so that they're a part of the solution. Why not go talk to them early, put everything on the table, show them the vast tools in our toolbox, the opportunities that we have, and let them play a role in the decisions that we're making. We've started doing this on projects as simple as resurfacing, and it has been tremendously successful. We've seen communities build coalitions around a simple resurfacing project, and we are starting to see what I call the fruits of that labor. And so we're going to continue to focus on this community-centric theme, but it extends beyond just delivering infrastructure. Our maintenance workers, those that maintain all of the infrastructure we've built, our very own FDOT employees, we're challenging them. How can you re-engage with your communities? You live in these communities, you work in these communities, these are your friends and your family. How can you engage with them? Maybe it's as simple as getting FDOT equipment in a Christmas parade in a local town. That's not hard to do. Why don't we do that? We're part of that community. How can we engage them and show them that we serve them, but also that we're part of who you are? And so that's a big theme of ours that we're focusing on moving into the future, and I think it's really going to help us as a team continue to adapt and evolve as society changes around us. I just want to talk a little bit about one of the unique challenges that we have here in Florida that many of you may be experiencing. Something interesting about transportation infrastructure, unfortunately or fortunately, it usually takes 15 to 20 years to go from conception to delivery. You know, there's a lot of reasons for that, but I've been talking to several people here lately, and you know, they're like, why does it take so long? You know, we put men on the moon in so many years. You know, we built nuclear bombs and, you know, power stations and, you know, all this, and why does transportation take so long? It's not just the delivery process that is a challenge, it's also the resources. And when you have such a diverse array of projects and a work program that is so massive and you're trying to address so many needs, it takes resources to do that. And one thing you learn is that resources are always limited, you know, they're finite. And so strategically investing those resources across an entire array and diversity of needs, you know, is one of the things that plays into the time it takes to deliver projects. So here in Florida, you know, we have, and many of you have similar planning processes, but our planning process works great. It's grassroots. You know, locals help us prioritize our projects, and we have the right projects in the pipeline. We've seen that year in and year out. We are definitely delivering the right projects to meet the need in Florida. But the challenging part is that we plan infrastructure based on models built from a 2 to 3% growth rate in population. And so the things we're planning today, we intend to deliver 20 years from now based on a 2 to 3% growth rate. I-4 Ultimate that we just finished, the planning for that started 30 years ago, and it was planned based on a 2 to 3% growth rate. In Florida right now, we have many of our counties and regions within the state are growing in excess of 20%. We actually have clusters within the peninsula that are experiencing a 40% growth rate in population. And so what's happened is all of our residents, all of our communities we serve, they feel like they went to bed one night, woke up the next morning, and now they're in maddening traffic. They're just sitting there. Their commute yesterday was taking 30 minutes to get to work. Now it's taking an hour and a half. And so we have an incredible challenge here in Florida. You know, how do we meet the needs of our communities, and how do we do it faster? And so we are going to answer that call. It's something we're going to be working on. It's definitely a big challenge, but I consider it an opportunity. It's exciting for our industry here in Florida because Florida's going to continue to grow. We're at 22 million residents. I think our annual visitor count now is up over 125 million, and it's just growing exponentially every single year. And so what we're finding is that the infrastructure we have in the pipeline that was going to be delivered 20 years from now is actually needed today. So it's an exciting time to be secretary. It's an exciting time for our industry and our team here in Florida, and we're going to need every single person to help us be successful, and also those that aren't here yet that we're hoping to maybe steal from some of the other states. We'll take them. We need them. So anyways, that's a challenge. You know, one of the other things I just wanted to mention that there's some themes around transportation that I think are beginning to embed themselves that have become important to communities all across the nation. One of those is resiliency. This is something that we have to build into the fabric of everything that we do, and we have been doing that. And anytime we're impacted by a natural disaster, we always build back resilient infrastructure, always. We make betterments, and they withstand future storms. But we still have a lot of existing infrastructure out there that needs to be more resilient. Especially, you know, it's not, and when we talk about resiliency, it's not just like your major events like coastal communities. We have inland communities that experience flooding issues all the time that's tied directly to transportation infrastructure. But in terms of resiliency, one of the things that stands out to me more, and even now after responding to Hurricane Ian, have really noticed this, resiliency is not just about physical infrastructure. It's about the relationships and the partnerships that you build over time. And one of the reasons that we as an agency, but also as a community and as a state, have been so successful responding to a Category 4 hurricane is because the relationships and partnerships that we've built over the last many years are strong and they're resilient. And when you have relationships that are strong and resilient, you can overcome just about anything. It tears down barriers, it tears down divides. People get aligned behind a common vision, a common goal, and the years of time and energy that they've invested in each other then begin to shine. And so resiliency is really important for transportation infrastructure. Also, something else that we've begun to really kind of roll into the fabric of our planning and design is supply chain. We've learned that, and this connects back to resiliency, that we need to strategically invest in infrastructure that makes our supply chain healthy and more resilient. And so these are two things that we've been really focused on embedding into our everyday thought process. One other key item that I think all of us are struggling with that we're really beginning to innovate on is workforce development. This is something that we've seen is going to be absolutely vital as we move forward, especially with the new infrastructure plan that's been rolled out at the federal level. I mean, in order to deliver the infrastructure that's going to be part of all these resources, you have to have people to do that. And so we've been looking at ways to attract more talent to our industry as a whole. Working with high schools, vocational schools, community colleges, universities. We need people of all sizes and shapes, from all backgrounds, all skill levels. And really, we're learning that we need to do a better job as an industry showing every individual that no matter where you come into this industry, you have a career path for the future. And we feel like we can build a more comprehensive picture of that and really start to sell this industry. So that's something we're going to be working on. I just want to end real quick with safety. We're all so passionate about safety. I personally am, with a daughter that just started driving. And so, we have a vision to get to zero fatalities. We have Target Zero. Many of our local communities in the state of Florida are beginning to sign up on this vision and put a plan together. And I think one thing that we've realized as a team here in Florida is that regardless of the energy that we put into safety, the resources that we put into safety, the time that we put into it, I mean, every decision, first and foremost, how can we make it safer? All of the time and energy resources we dedicate to safety, yet fatalities and serious injuries are still going up. We have to do a little bit of self-reflection and ask ourselves why. Why are crashes still going up? If we don't ask ourselves why and look for the real answer, we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. And so we're beginning to research and look into that and really start to bridge the engineering world over into the behavior world. And I talked about behavior a little while ago with my story on I-4, and this is the key, is figuring out how we can play a role in starting to modify behaviors so that we can actually connect the dots between what we do and the crash numbers. So we're going to be trying to innovate on that, and we're all going to be working together. I think it's really time. We need to start impacting that crash number, and something we're all passionate about. So we're going to be working hard to that. Thank you again for allowing us to host this event. Look forward to seeing you all tonight during the host state event at Discovery Cove. Thank you, Sean.